All right, let's dive into something that feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's getting more real every single day. We're going to talk about what happens when AI gets so good it can predict not just what we do, but maybe even what we're thinking.
So let's just start with the biggest question right out of the gate. Should you be punished for something that only exists inside your own head? A dark fantasy, a fleeting bad idea. If you never, ever act on it, is the thought itself a crime? This is the heart of the whole issue we're exploring today. For centuries, our entire legal system has been built on a really clear, bright line. It's the line that separates the private world inside our heads, our thoughts, from the public world of our actions. And it turns out that line isn't just some legal footnote, it's absolutely essential to how we function as moral beings. And here's why that separation between thought and action is so critical. It's actually pretty simple. Your thoughts are private. They're yours. Trying to police them would just completely obliterate any idea of privacy. Actions, on the other hand, happen out in the world. They leave evidence, they have consequences. That little gap between having a thought and taking an action, that's everything. That is the space where moral choice happens. An action is just that choice finally made real. I mean, this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. We all have strange or dark impulses from time to time. Being a good person isn't about never having those thoughts. It's about choosing not to act on them. If you criminalize the thought itself, you take away the very space where we practice self-control. Okay, but here's where things get really complicated. We are now living in an age where AI is starting to blur that bright line in a totally new way. And the real threat, it's not what you think. It's actually a lot more subtle, and it's hiding in plain sight. This right here, this captures the fear that a lot of us have, doesn't it? The idea that as AI gets better and better at finding patterns, our digital footprint will basically give away everything, and soon our innermost thoughts won't be private anymore. That Orwellian, mind-reading machine future feels like it's just around the corner. But here's the twist. The real danger isn't that AI is going to learn to read your mind. It's something far more subtle, and honestly, in a lot of ways, it's much harder to fight. And this slide lays out the critical difference. We're all scared of thought surveillance, an AI knowing your exact thoughts in this very moment. But the reality is behavioral prediction. The system doesn't know what you think. It just knows what people with a similar data profile to yours tend to do. It's not proof of a thought, it's a risk score. It's a guess. And that small difference has absolutely massive consequences. So if the threat isn't mind reading, what is it? Well, it really boils down to three big dangers. First, you've got predictive intervention. This is being punished for a statistical guess, like being denied a loan, not because of anything you did, but because a risk score says you might default. Second, there's behavioral manipulation, where these systems aren't just predicting our thoughts, they're actively designed to nudge and shape them. And third is social credit creep, a world where what you actually think becomes irrelevant, because all that matters is that you look like you're thinking the right things for the algorithm. And all this leads us to a brand new kind of punishment that's starting to emerge. See, it's not about getting arrested for a thought crime. It's about how prediction is quietly taking the place of prosecution, creating this system of control that's way harder to see and even harder to challenge. This slide gets right to the core of it. We're all looking out for some big, centralized thought police from the government. But the reality is, this messy, decentralized web of corporate and state systems that don't need to put you on trial. They can just exclude you. No job, no loan, no access to a platform. They don't have to prove your thoughts. They just have to predict your tendencies. And the scariest part? It's all disguised as neutral, boring risk management, so you might not even realize you're being punished at all.
So what makes this new kind of punishment so sneaky? Well, for one, it's decentralized, so there's no single bad guy to fight back against. It's opaque. These are secret, proprietary algorithms, so there's no due process. It's deniable because they can always just say, hey, we're not punishing anyone, we're just managing risk. And maybe most importantly, it's preemptive. You're being limited not for something you did, but for what a machine predicts you might do. And if you're thinking this is all just some far-off theoretical problem, it is absolutely not. This is happening right now. In the UK, the PREVENT program flags people for extremist ideology based on their browsing history. In the US, algorithmic gang databases are used to decide who gets stopped and searched more often. And in Xinjiang, China, AI-driven surveillance preemptively targets individuals based entirely on predicted behavior. This isn't the future, this is today. Okay, I know that was a lot and it sounds incredibly bleak, but here's the most important part of this whole conversation.
This future is not inevitable. This is not a done deal. There is a real fight happening as we speak, and the outcome is still very much up in the air. And we have proof that pushing back actually works. We've seen massive privacy regulations like GDPR take hold in Europe. Entire cities are banning government use of facial recognition. Voters are passing stronger privacy laws. And huge public outcry has successfully shut down some of these predictive policing programs. This trend is not a runaway train. People are putting on the brakes. So, how do we fight back on a technical level? Well, one of the most powerful tools we have is strong encryption. Now, there's a common myth that some super powerful AI could just, figure out the pattern and break it. But that's not how it works at all. Good encryption scrambles data so completely that it's mathematically identical to random noise. There is literally no pattern for an AI to find. To put that into perspective, just look at this number. That's the number of possible keys for a standard type of encryption. It's a number so ridiculously huge, it's bigger than the estimated number of atoms in the entire observable universe. All the computers on Earth couldn't guess the right key, even if they worked for billions of years. The math is on our side. The tool is there, and it is solid. So, if the technology is basically unbreakable, where's the weak spot? Well, it's us. The real vulnerabilities aren't in the math. They're human, and they're political. It's people choosing convenience over privacy and just not using encryption. It's governments trying to force companies to build secret back doors into their software. It's simple human error, like weak passwords. And it's that social pressure, that question. If you're using encryption, what are you trying to hide? These are the things we actually have to worry about. And that brings us to the final and most important thought. The technology itself doesn't decide our future. We do. Our choices about how we use that technology are what matters. So the real question isn't, are we headed for a dystopia? It's, will we choose to go there? And that question, well, that's still up to us. Thanks for watching.